Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Debbie. This is my Crafty Dan. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a Dollarama haul, and from that haul, I picked up a couple of these little 30 by 30 centimeter diamond paintings for $4 each. These are really cute, guys. You don't have to wait for them to come in the mail either. You got them right when you want them. So they had this one, another floral one, which I got, multiple different colors of dream catchers. I don't know what other ones that they have because that's all they had at my store. But I really hope that they come up with some more because I definitely will grab them. But guys, this was a joy to work on. So if you're wondering where this came from, it's from the company called Crafts, and they sell that brand of crafting items at Dollarama. I know they sell it other places as well. So if you come across that brand of dollar painting at one of your discount stores, definitely grab it. Definitely grab it. The glue on this, although it's not poured, it is really sticky. It grabbed the drills and held them nicely. And there were no wrinkles and bubbles that you get sometimes in the diamond paintings that aren't poured paintings. And so I really liked the quality of this. The drills, I don't know if I mentioned that, the drills were all really uniform sizes, and there was not a bunch of trash in the bags either. There's 25 different colors to this painting, which is a nice variety for a little painting like this. It gives it some really vibrant color. And yeah, overall, I rate this an A+. So part 2 of this video, because I already did the unboxing and the review. So part 2 of this is going to be me sealing this. And then I'm going to mount it on a Dollarama stretched canvas. So this says 30 by 30 centimeters. I'm just going to grab this and show you guys that 30 by 30 centimeters is from here. Make sure I got you there. It's from here, from this edge to this edge. So this part of the painting, like the actual painting itself, is only just under 25 centimeters. So the actual size in inches for us girls that are used to that is 9 3/4 by 9 3/4, because this is square. So when you get a 12 by 12 inch canvas, that's the perfect size to leave yourself a bit of an edge. So yeah, it works out really great. A nice standard size. So the first thing that I do to start getting this ready to mount it on a canvas, I'm going to take this old toothbrush that I've used for all kinds of crafting things. But the first thing I'm going to do is take this old toothbrush. I am going to, and I'm going to do this everywhere. So anything that's settled into this painting, any little dust, maybe the odd hair, make sure you get that out. I've got a cat and a dog, and in the cramped space of the camper, I'm bound to get the odd little bit of dust or, pet hair there. So it's looking good. I don't see anything. I just like it to be really clean before I'm going to start. The second thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to take my rolling pin and I'm going to roll over this. And if you hear any popping sounds, that'll be drills that weren't completely down, that were being pushed up by the drills beside them. And this is just shoving everything down onto that glue really, really good. So I like to put a little bit of weight on that when I'm doing that. So push down hard on that rolling pin when you're doing it, and you should be good. So if you are like me, I'm thinking that that little bit of what looks like debris there isn't debris. It's the letters underneath on my canvas. They're not completely covered. So check over this really, really well. And if you see any little spots that look like there's a black spot, it's probably because your drill isn't centered over top of your letter perfectly. This is the time to take your drill pen, and all I'm doing is just moving those drills a little bit sideways. Anytime I see a little black spot, I'm just moving that drill a little wee bit to cover it over. There, see, I was trying to brush that off, and that's not what that was at all. Most of my lines are fairly straight. Every once in a while you see a drill that's slightly off kilter, a little wee bit. So this is the time to do that, because once you seal this, you're not going to be able to move these drills around anymore. There, I think it's looking good. I think it's looking really good. So what I use to seal mine, I use the Tombow Aqua liquid glue. This dries hard. It's a tiny little bit flexible, and it dries clear, which is the most important thing. And I am going to squeeze, I'm going to keep squeezing this out. This isn't coming out very good. I'm actually going to take this out. This is the dispenser. I am going to take this out and set it aside. And then that way I can pour. I'm just going to pour out some glue onto my diamond painting like that. So about, for this size of painting, I just put about that much out. Not very much at all. I mean, it looks like lots, but not very much at all. Then I'm going to take my rubber spatula or my silicone spatula. Any silicone spatula will do. And I am going to spread my glue. And this is going to put it down in between all the drills. It doesn't have to be up and above the drills. We still want the sparkle of the drills to show through, so we don't want to bury it underneath our sealer. But the drills are curved on top. They're a little wider on the bottom than they are on the top. So if you get, just make sure you get everything off if anything comes on there. If you get the glue down between the drills, it's going to hold them down. All we're doing is trying to prevent these drills from ever moving or falling off of this painting. So a little more. And you can see it. You can see that you've got it in all the places. You guys probably can't, but I can see it. I know where I'm getting it and where I've missed. You can see the wet spots. So the most important thing here is to make sure that you have your glue all the way to that last row all around the edge, because those are the ones that are more apt to pop off. So to make sure that I have the glue everywhere and that it's between all the rows, I'm just turning my painting so that I can go back and forth from each side and top to bottom. And for me, it's easier to just go this way when I'm looking at it. Do you guys hear all that barking right now? So I have a little dog. I have a long-haired Chihuahua. And the lady across the road breeds dogs. And she has 3 Yorkshire Terriers. Oh my gosh. They're not the teeny little like miniature ones, but the regular Yorkshire Terriers. And they're still just a shoebox sized dog. Well, every time all the dogs are out in the yard together, they talk back and forth across the road. It is so funny. There's nothing aggressive or anything. They're just friends. But yeah, they carry on back and forth across the road, bark at each other and chat. This edge here is missing a little. I could use a little wee bit more. There, I think everything is pretty much covered. So I'm going to put my glue back together. That's my favorite glue for paper crafting as well. And if people ask me where I get it, well, I just buy it by the case on Amazon. It's pricey that way, but each time I make that investment, it lasts me for a long time. It's little dog syndrome, guys. They are very defensive. Now, let me reiterate, none of these dogs bite, and they're not aggressive to people. They're just very vocal about staying away from me. That's all they're saying is stay away from me. You scare me. So that's it. That's this. I am going to let this dry for probably 4 or 5 hours to make sure. It just seemed to be a lot in that one little spot. So let it sit for a minute. And if there's anything that's not spread out properly, it'll start to pool up and look solid. What you're looking for when you're looking at your painting is that there's no bubbles of glue above your drills. If you find that your glue is too deep, just take some back off and wipe it onto a cloth. But I don't think that's the case here. I like to hold my spatula almost upright so that it slides down in between each row of drills like that. And if there's anything up above at all, it'll take that off. There, I'm not getting any on my spatula doing that. So I think there's not too much glue on it. So with that being said, I'm going to leave this to dry. For me, I just take it out and set it on my kitchen counter so that it's flat and nothing touches it and nothing's going to fall onto it while it's drying. And then I'm going to get my canvas and I'm going to prep my canvas. So I have my canvas, and this is a 12 by 12 inch canvas, 30.5 centimeters by 30.5 centimeters. This is a perfect size for that painting. So I'm going to open my canvas. I'll take that little silica gel out of there, And I have a little cup here, and what I'm going to paint this with is a homemade chalk paint. So I'm going to shake up my black acrylic, just a crafter's acrylic from Deco Art, dollar store brand. I'm going to put some in here in this little cup. Just a small amount like this. Like there's maybe an eighth of an inch, a little more in the bottom. And this is just a little cup. And I am going to take my baby powder, which is talc. Now what you want to look for in the ingredients is that this is talc. If it's a powder, powders can be made out of other things, but for this DIY gesso basically, or DIY chalk paint, what you want is talc. And I'm going to squeeze out about the same amount as my paint. I am going to take a tiny little spatula here, and I'm going to stir this up really well. Now this is going to thicken my paint, and I don't want it to be thick. I want it to be chalky, but I don't want it to be thick. So what I'm going to do now is start adding a little bit of water. And this is how I make my DIY chalk paint. You can use talc for this. You can use baking soda. You can use the very best chalk paint version of chalk paint that I've ever made. The one that the recipe that I use when I'm painting furniture with a homemade chalk paint is made of plaster of Paris from the hardware store. You get it where the paint supplies are. You mix the plaster of Paris with a bit of water. This is still a little bit too thick. I'm going to add another squirt of water to it. So I don't have a tried and true recipe for when I'm doing little wee batches like this. I kind of just go half and half with the acrylic paint and the talc, and then add water to thin it down. And there always seems to be like way lots enough pigment in the paint to do this. So why not get rid of the rest of this paint right here? I don't want to waste it, and I want it off my spatula. There. I'm going to take a paintbrush, and for this project I just like a cheap dollar store paintbrush that has some nice stiff bristles, and I am just going to start painting my frame. So I don't need to paint the inside of this. I'm just going to do around the outside edges, but make sure you get all the way around. So I like to go about 1.5 inches in to make sure that I have it all covered, and that I have my paint at least wrapped around the back here, so I've got no white showing from the side. And I'm going to put this on a box like that so that I can just spin this and paint. I'll move it up a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to paint and spin. So I'll do this. I like this stiff paintbrush for this because it's easy to get this. So this can be used as a DIY gesso. So if somebody's wondering, you know, when you take a canvas and you go to paint it, you're going to put gesso on your canvas to prime your canvas, just a white gesso on your canvas to prime your canvas before you paint. And that's basically what chalk paint is. It'll work like a gesso. I just sometimes call this DIY gesso and use it the same way. I mean, it works, guys. It basically turns your paint into a paint and primer all in one. So what I use plaster of Paris for when I'm making a DIY gesso is if you go to the paint store and you're going to paint a piece of furniture and you pick out your latex paint, you want to grab a latex paint that is not a paint and primer all in one, because it doesn't work for some reason with that paint. But any plain, the cheapest latex paint, the cheapest brand of latex paint that you can buy generally works the best, guys. It really does. So that's all I have to paint on this. I'm just gonna do, I've got it in my hand, I'm just gonna turn it. And, oh, I just got it on myself. I'm just going to turn it and make sure I haven't got any white spots showing. Then I'm going to give this a couple minutes to dry. In the meantime, I'm going to rinse out my paintbrush. I'm going to put some cellophane over this to keep it. Now, the best way to do this is to put some cellophane on there. I tap it right down so that it's sitting on top of the paint and then bring it up and seal my edges really, really good. That'll keep for quite a while as long as it's airtight. There, now this is pretty plain. I've done this before on a black surface and I really like it. I'm going to dry brush this acrylic paint around the edges of this frame, and this is called spun gold. Now I put a little bit out onto a little piece of paper here, just a little bit. I'm going to dip my brush in and then I'm going to work it in until I have a really dry brush. Here, let me get a tissue even. You can always add more, but it's hard to take this off. So I'm gonna dry brush and I'm going one way only. I'm just gonna start dry brushing this gold. Now on the black, the gold looks rich. This is a really translucent color and it kind of makes it look like there was gold on here, but most of it's worn off. Don't forget to do your edges too. You're going to have more around this corner that rolls than anywhere else. I love this technique when I'm looking for something that looks really old, almost past vintage, almost antique. And because these little floral diamond paintings remind me so much of a really almost a Victorian era cross stitch, I think that this frame will look really, really well with, it'll go really well with the paintings. So all I have left to do, I'm going to set this back down here so you can see the whole thing. Put my box over there. And to me, once this is mounted, it doesn't look so much like it's mounted on the surface of a canvas. It looks to me more like it has a frame. Alrighty, for the next part of this, I'm just going to use my scissors this time. I think this is small enough painting that I can just pick it up and cut it like this. If it's a really large painting, I put it down on a cutting mat, and then I use my straight edge and my X-Acto knife, and I cut through this. But yeah, I think this. So I'm not cutting into the drills. I'm just trying to cut right down. There's a line around the painting, like actually a line around the painting, and I'm trying to cut on that line. Sorry, it's been a couple of hours. I started this in the morning, but there's some grass cutting going on outside right now and some noisy dogs, and yeah, it is what it is. Life goes on in the neighborhood. So I'm just going to cut this out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my sides off, and this is how the painting goes. This is right side up, and I'm going to center this as much as I can, and then I'm going to glue this down. And what I'm going to use for that is Mod Podge. I'm out of regular Mod Podge, but I do have some dishwasher safe, and for some reason I ordered the wrong one the last time, so I have 2 bottles of this now. And I don't use the dishwasher safe all that often. I think I just ordered the wrong one the last time, so I have to get myself some regular Mod Podge, which is actually a little bit cheaper. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is put some Mod Podge down in the middle, and I'm going to brush that on using my nice big brush. I'm going to go down the middle. I'm just doing the middle right now. I'm going to set the board aside right now a little bit right now. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do the back of the painting like this and let it tack up. I'm sure there's probably better glues that I could use for this, but quite honestly, I have things that I glued 20 years ago with Mod Podge when there was only one, just the regular Mod Podge was the only one you could get, and they're still holding. So I trust it. I do trust it. So I'm going to take that, set it over there, and I'm going to go right across the middle here like this. So I have right down onto here a little bit. So I have Mod Podge. Just on that strip down the middle. It just makes it easier to keep it straight. I'm going to put this down and once again try to make sure that this time that I have it. I have some wiggle room right now. Not much. It's starting to grab already. Like, that's starting to grab already, guys. So to pull it, I really have to pull it. So I have it glued down the middle. Now what I can do is pull it back. I know I got it where I want it. I've got it sitting. Pull it back. I'm going to put a little around the edges here. This is the only way I can make sure that I have it to the edges. And a little bit of glue right in, and then I'm going to it just seems to really grab well when I have a little bit down here and I have it on here, because the canvas is porous and it takes, you know, a little bit of the Mod Podge does go through. So I'm going to run that down like this. Is it still sitting where I want it? Yes, just to make sure. I'm just pressing it to make sure that there's no bumps, there's no air bubbles. And using a clean wipe, just take it off my edges. There. And I'm going to turn it upside down just for the sake of working on it, because I'm right-handed. This is easier for me. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the other side down. Now remember, this works with regular Mod Podge. This is dishwasher safe, and the only reason I'm using it is because it's an hour drive to the store, guys, to get me some more. And each way, not an hour, but like an hour there and another hour back. I can't pick Mod Podge up in any of the little towns right around me. I have to go into the city. And it's just easier for me to order some, so I have some for my next project. Or when I go into the city, I can go to Dollarama and just get myself a little bottle to hold me over. So I have that on there. I'm going to it doesn't have to be thick. It just has to cover everything. It grabs in the weave of the canvas really well. So that, and get my tissue again for my edges and my fingers. Okay, make sure this is flat all the way. And if you have a tiny little bit seeps out the edge, then at least you know you've got it glued right to the edge. Some people seal their diamond paintings with the Mod Podge. I think if I did that, there's a glitter Mod Podge. If you want your diamond painting to be really sparkly, that one would work really well. If you just want it to be basically like this glue is dry to the touch. It's probably not dried down in between, but the surface of this is dry. I can run my hand over it and I'm not sticking anywhere. There. So that's it, guys. That's ready. I will just put a little sawtooth hanger on the back here, and this is ready for the wall. So that's it. This is the whole painting. This is going to look cute on my bathroom wall upstairs. I really love it. The other painting has more of a pale blue background with white flowers, the white and the cream. So kind of reverses these colors. And I've already, just to make sure my frames were the same, I primed the other canvas already, because when you do them, if you want them to kind of look the same, do them both at the same time. At least I feel that makes it work a little bit better. So yeah, I'm just going to do my other diamond painting, and then I have to mount it on the frame, and I'll have both of these on the bathroom wall. I think these are pretty. So if you like this little tutorial on how I mounted this and got it ready for my wall, give me a thumbs up, comment down below what you think. Subscribe now if you haven't done that already, so that you can come back and visit me again. And I will see everybody in the next video. Until then, bye-bye for now, everybody.